its population was outnumbered by a massive number of Africans imported from the Congo-Angolan region. A series of laws was enacted to repress enslaved Africans in the Carolina colony. The enslaved Africans took advantage of this situation to plan and organize a massive uprising. They were united in their determination for freedom, as well as in their similar kinship and linguistic ties, as the majority of enslaved Africans in South Carolina were newly imported from Angola. The Africans used drums and chants of liberty to recruit and to unite other enslaved Africans to fight against the oppression of white planters, who were the minority in 18th century South Carolina. Their goal was to flee to St. Augustine, Florida, where the Spanish had promised protection and freedom for all Africans enslaved by the British. At daybreak on September 9, 1739, approximately 20 enslaved Africans, led by an educated enslaved Angolan or Congolese called Jimmy, assembled on the shore of the Stono River in St. Paul's Parish, about 20 miles from Charleston, South Carolina. During church services, which most white planters attended, the group broke into a firearms store by Stono Bridge, plundered boxes of guns and ammunition, and killed the store's two owners when they returned unexpectedly, leaving their heads on the porch. The group of Africans proceeded towards St. Augustine via Pompons Road, the road to Florida through Georgia. Along Pompons Road, the group swelled to more than 50, and subsequently killed the innkeepers of a tavern, their neighbors, overseers, and other white men, women, and children, and burnt their houses to the ground. Late in the afternoon, after traveling more than 10 miles from Stono, the white militia launched a surprise attack and fired on the group of enslaved Africans. The groups exchanged fire, killing approximately 44 Africans and 23 whites. At least 30 Africans escaped, though some were captured south of the incident and shot to death. Most of the remainder of those who escaped were arrested and hanged over the following 6 months. Thus the Stono Rebellion ultimately failed. However, it did demonstrate enslaved Africans' robust cultural and armed resistance to the appalling slave system, as well as their strong commitment to the establishment of an independent African community such as the one they planned to create in Florida. The Stono Rebellion induced white colonists in the South to establish strict legislation aimed at promptly controlling enslaved Africans. The Negro Act was enacted in 1740 to ensure a total subordination of enslaved Africans in South Carolina. The act required all white men to carry guns, and prohibited enslaved Africans from beating African drums during slave gatherings, from assembling and working on Sundays, from earning money, from growing their own food, and from learning to read. The act also limited direct slave importation from Africa, which it was thought could encourage slave revolts. The consequences of the rebellion were that whites were never able to eliminate their fear of revolts, and enslaved Africans' commitment to freedom based on their African heritage thrived with the legacy of this large-scale revolt, as evidenced by